Shut up and sit down.
Welcome back to Loud, Confused, and Ready. We are your hosts, Sam,
Cam, Kip,
Elliot.
You were talking, Kip, you were talking earlier about Mass Effect and being able to tell a story without it always having to be cataclysmic stuff.
Yeah.
All that kind of reminded me and stuff. I still don't understand why they can't make a game that is like all dependent on how the players play as a party. So like, if you get four guys together, and for instance, I thought about this when GTA 5 came out, I think it was, where they're like, oh, you can plan heists, and it's going to be amazing. All GTA became was just a bunch of people, robbing liquor stores and killing people with cars and stuff, killing your teammates, and it was just, ridiculous.
Griefing each other.
Which is, I mean, it's fine, whatever, but, like, it's mostly because they kept saying, the next patch, these things you're gonna be able to do these things, and the next patch you're gonna be able to do these things.
Took them an entire year to come out with heists, and then they were way less than what was expected.
Yeah, you're never even allowed to do what they said you were. You don't. There's no planning for heists. It's not like you don't look at a bank and you're like, oh, we're gonna go this way, we're gonna get the money, we're gonna get out.
Right.
That doesn't happen
for you.
Yeah, you go up to a clerk and you're like, here, and then they give you the money, and then you leave and are in a cop chase, and that's it. Like, there's no alternate pathways through it and stuff. So my point was, thinking of all these things is making it player determined, where you're like, okay, we set up the parameters, here are all the consequences and things that could go wrong. Here's the setting. There isn't really a story because it's pretty much just what you want to do with the character you created.
Yep.
And go. And it can be simple, because all of the work goes into the consequences and the different pathways you can take. So if you wanted to go and do a mission or whatever, the way that the mission went about, it's very simplistic. There is no huge story arc to it, but there's a million different ways that this could go, and it's up to you for playing as a team or not playing as a team to figure all this shit out. And or if you guys want to be good guys or bad guys, would all determine on or be dependent on what you decide to do that session. Yeah. So you're like, all right, well, this event's coming up. We're all on. All right, we're all together. We're all geared up. Okay, what do we want to do? Do we want to go and rob the place, or do we want to stop the robbery? Or do we want to go and, whatever. So
a lot of, and I agree with you 100%. I think the most fun you could probably ever have with a game is something like that, where everything that you do is determining everything that happens. Because of human nature, I don't think that. The amount of time that it would take to design something like that is very rarely worth it to a game developer, because we as human beings, just statistically, if you present a situation to four people, 80% of the time they might do one thing, and
right.
15% of the time they might do another thing. And then if every other scenario is a 1% or less or whatever, then the game studio kind of has to look at it as like, how much time do we want to put into this thing that maybe nobody's ever going to see? And that can suck up a lot of their production time for something that ends up being ineffective. And not saying that I think that they shouldn't do that. I'm just saying that from a business perspective, that's 99% of the time why they don't do shit like that.
I think
because
about
it's way too much work for what they get out of it.
Yeah, I can see that. I think about games like Guild Wars, though, where it was instances. So you don't have to put that much production or time and effort into something open world like GTA or whatever, because in that way other people can fuck up your plans and mess up everything. But if you are in a central hub and then you walk into an instance together, what the scenario is, that there's a shit ton of different outcomes that could happen or whatever. And so if you have 25 instances or 30 or whatever, let's just say, and all of your work goes towards glitch correcting and consequence, monitoring, stuff like that, and not into, let's say, because when you do story arcs and stuff, there's a lot of cinematics, a lot of different dialogue back and forth, choices you can make verbally and stuff. If you cut, 98% of that and just be like, hey, go talk to the vendor and then go into the instance and go figure your shit out. And all of the actual discussion and the choice choices that are made between players and stuff. There's a lot less work that they have to do instead of just running code, making sure that shit doesn't glitch out.
Right. And that's been kind of a long-standing, not necessarily debate, but it's always sort of like on the fence. Like when you make a game, how much story makes a good game?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people think that it's one way or the other, whereas it could be a little bit more subjective. Like a puzzle game may not necessarily need to have a story. You might just be running around solving puzzles
games, yeah.
Or, if you're playing a game like Dragon Age or something like that game is designed to have you be making a lot of decisions based off of dialogue and shit like that. And I don't know. It just seems like, everybody's got their own opinion about how much story a game should have, or like what's important to a game to have, or, if the graphics aren't good, is it still a good game? Like that kind of stuff. And I think that's all pretty subjective too. But yeah I agree.
I think so. Graphics, that conversation, I have always made the joke that Minecraft is fucking ridiculous because it's 8-bit on a 1080p system on next 4th gen.
Crank the graphics all the way up so I can really see those 8 pixels on each block.
$60 to $80 for this game. It's like, why? Why?
I put a lot
in the
of
game's
time into
defense,
Minecraft
it's never been more than $20, I don't think.
No?
Not Minecraft.
I mean, I bought it probably 8 years ago or something.
That game proves my point too, though. Like, there's like all the time and effort goes into all the shit that you can do, and not into, all the superficial stuff.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of a game being good without having to have,
Does
big
it have
long
a story
cinematics or no.
Does it have any story?
No, there's literally no story.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games though that like I played through once. I played through Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 once. I didn't finish 3 because I'm sure I've shared the story numerous times with you guys, but I just couldn't do it. But I don't ever go back to a lot of these games. Most of the games I go back to are like Minecraft. I hadn't played Minecraft in several months. We go back and play that. I just started up Final Fantasy VIII again a couple weeks ago. Played through 7 summer before last and beat it. Got 10-2, the remaster. It's like I'm more likely to play a lot of these old school PS2 games.
Yeah.
And even like on my Wii U or on my Wii when I had it, like I had Ocarina of Time, I had Harvest Moon for the Super Nintendo. Like I was a lot more likely to go back and play those games over like games from the past couple of years.
Right. Well, a lot of that stuff when it's story based too. I mean, at least for me, I sort of look at it as like, if I'm going to play a game like Mass Effect again, I typically don't want to, because I've played through it once already and sort of experienced
a lot of time
it.
And effort.
And I experienced it and made the decisions and everything.
Mass Effect 1, like I did every fucking thing I could to make sure I had the best possible outcome.
Yep.
So in order to get everything I had from 1 into number 2 again, I've got to put all those hours into it.
Yeah.
Do the same in number 2 to make sure everybody survives.
Yeah, and my point was kind of like, if you're doing the same game, you've got two options basically. You can either do it the same way that you did it before, which kind of defeats the purpose when the game is so reliant on these are your choices, and it's very important what choices you make. If you're gonna make all the same choices again, you're just
The shitty thing is those games too is like it never really pays off to be bad in these games.
It doesn't really pay off either way. I mean, if you really look objectively at the end result of any Mass Effect game, other than in Mass Effect 2, you might lose some people.
Right, but and that's something they've been criticized about as far as like your decisions not actually doing anything for you. But it's always like between Paragon and Renegade and Mass Effect, it was like, give this dude a high five or shoot him in the fucking face. Like it's never like it's like, well, I mean, I love high fives. I'll give him a high five.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to shoot him in the face. I just don't want to help him.
Yeah,
That's
like I don't
Jurassic.
know this guy.
Right. Like it just goes to such an extreme. Like there's no.
Well, and the problem too is they program the game around. You need to maximize one or the other to be effective. Mm-hmm. Within the system they created. You can't be like, I'm going to take the neutral path here, just kind of watch and see what happens, because if you don't take an active role and either high-five the guy or shoot him in the face, then you don't get any points toward, future conversation
Right.
where you might be able to talk your way out of something.
You can't
or-
intimidate or you can't persuade.
Yeah.
My issue with those, in any RPG and whatnot, is that I can never play how I would actually play, like how I would actually be. I can never do that because I'm a smart ass.
Yeah, and you're always trying to pick the decision that's kind of closest to what you would say.
And then he says something completely different.
And then you're like, oh, okay, great, fucking awesome.
I mean, that is their extremes, because I'm like, I would definitely help this woman out, even if she had nothing to do with my storyline and whatnot, like, because that's how I am as a person. But I would also tell her that this snarky comment or whatever. But by saying that snarky comment, you automatically do not help her out, and she dies by AIDS or something. Like,
well, everybody knows the best way to get to AIDS is just talk it out.
Right.
Just say nice words to people and you just talk the AIDS out.
Give him a snarky remark.
Like, he says a snarky remark and he, injects her with AIDS with that syringe. It's like, well, I didn't want to do that much, but I just wanted to be a smartass while I helped her get, her basket of apples.
Yeah, and replaying those games too is kind of, to me, like if you're watching a movie and you finish the movie and you go, man, that was a really good movie. I liked, the story of it.
Yeah.
And then you go back and watch the movie again and it's different. Like there's different scenes that they put in and change how the movie ends. Yeah. And you're just like, wait. I liked the way the movie was the first time. Like, why would I want to go back and watch it differently? Like, that's kind of how I feel. It's just like, I'm either going to make the same decisions and that's going to be the same game, or I'm going to make different ones and it's not really going to make any sense in my head.
There are games too where you can play through like an RPG and shit goes down that you don't really grasp, but you go through a second or third time and then you figure it out and you're like, oh, holy shit. Like,
yeah, it's like the Sixth Sense phenomenon where you, once you know everything that's happened, you kind of notice things in the beginning that were sort of sprinkled in as,
that's so cool.
Foreshadowing or whatever.
I haven't found to date, a game that is okay with you being bad. Like, you making any bad decision. Every game is like, well, you could be bad, and there's, some things that you get if you are bad, and if you're really bad, there's this that you can't get if you're good at all, but the story's gonna suck more because we want you to be this. And I just don't like being strong.
Well, and that's the thing too. I
do.
don't think that a game's come out that really properly explores how it really would change if you were a good person or a bad person. If I walked out of your house right now and pulled out a gun and shot your neighbor in the head, my life would be very different than if I went over and gave him a plate of cookies.
Right.
But in the end of the Mass Effect series, if you go around fucking murdering everybody, or if you're the coolest guy in the world, people just say, oh, he's Shepard.
Yes. So I think one problem that they have in these games...
He's the equalizer. Sorry.
When you look at good and bad, it's like bad is just pure evil. Like, you are Satan or you're angelic. Instead of are you a gentleman or are you an asshole? Because you can be a fucking asshole and still be a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm a good person, but in this one situation, I had to shoot this guy in the head, even though I didn't really want to.
Right. Like
There's
Shane
no
from The
difference
Walking
between
Dead.
that and you walking in and going, fuck you, bitch, and then just walking out.
My
It's
boy
like,
Shane from The Walking Dead, who everyone hates.
Thank you for watching Loud, Confused, and Ready. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you'd like to see more, click the annotations to check out some of our other videos. If you'd like to stay up to date on our videos, click that subscribe button below. Also, we'd love to hear from you in the comment section or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks, and have a great day.